with my grandmother said, talking to me one day and was saying, because I had turned my voice off, I was a select mute. Those that know, know. Those that don't, I was a select mute for a number of years from age 8 to 13. I just turned my voice off like Maya Angelou. I thought my words had powerful. They were powerful and very impactful. So I didn't want to say anything because children were to be seen and not heard. So I internalized that. So for me, she told me to write my things down. Once I wrote those things down, I just felt a sense of release at every single curve. Every single time I wrote something down, I just felt like, I don't have to think about that right now. I don't have to feel that way right now because it's there. I can always come back and revisit that.
NL Publishing Service Academy proudly presents Listen Up, I Got a Story to Tell podcast with literary success consultant DK Walker, sharing with you writing tips, marketing ideas, publishing information, and inspiring interviews for your author journey. So, without further ado, let's get right into it with DK Walker.
I'm DK Walker, and this is Listen Up, I Got a Story to Tell podcast. Today, joining me is Jannet Butler, poet extraordinaire. Welcome to the room, Jannet.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Mr. DK Walker.
Look, y'all, of course y'all don't know, like me and her is real close friends. So if we get goofy and silly on y'all, pay us no mind. But before we open up that can of worms and go down that rabbit hole, my first question to you is, how has your life changed since you have published 3 books in your name? Since you self-published 3 books in your name, how has your life changed? Or has it changed?
It hasn't and it has at the same time. And it's 4 books. You
I'm
forgot.
sorry.
Yes, because you
I'm
always
sorry.
forget about my quote book. So that makes 4 books. It has changed in the capacity in the realm of just me finding more out about myself as a person, as a mother, as an individual, as an educator, and definitely as a writer. So in those realms, it actually has changed. And maybe you're thinking about the first 3 books were definitely done just solely by me, because the last one was done with my brother, my daughter, and my niece. So confessions from the heart. But as far as anything big and major, I don't think it has really changed that dramatically.
Okay. So if you were to have something change, what would it be? Like, would you want to become more known among your literary peers? Would you want to be more known among them? Would you like more fame among your readership?
My biggest outlet and what I'm looking for is to become a motivational speaker. That's my journey. That's where I'm trying to get my avenue to. And my books are just a segue to get me there, because that opens up the door to let me know how much I would like to release to people at a certain point in time in my life. How much do I want them involved? And so with that being said, when I become a motivational speaker, and I've done some areas of that in the school system and outside of the school system and other arenas. So it has enlightened me to let me know that's my journey. That's exactly where I would like to be. And considering where I came from to where I am now and where I'm going, I'm on the right path.
Oh, okay. Congratulations. Since you said you're on the right path to becoming a motivational speaker, you can curse me out later, but let me put you on a hot seat right now. Recently, I have a lot that's been going on in my life, right? It's one thing after another, just can't seem to get it together. I come to you for one-on-one counseling, and we're going to get into your books, and we're going to get into all of that, but I want to delve into this quickly. But anyway, I'm going through a lot. I come to you, I need one-on-one counseling. I need you to help me redirect my life on the right path. As a motivational speaker, what would you do?
The first thing I always tell people, I'm sorry for cutting across you, but the first thing I always tell people is to sit a moment in silence and self-reflect. Listen to what people have to say and hear what they have to say, but you have to bring it back to yourself. What role can you take responsibility and accountability for? Because it ultimately lies within wherever your boundaries are and what you're receiving in. Because what you're receiving is the energy that you mostly put out. And I know the world is a big place and all kinds of people exist in it, so it's going to be lots of energy. I'm asking you to sit back, reflect on yourself, journal, get it all out on paper, things that you wouldn't even say to people. Write those things down and go back and reflect off of those pieces and figure out what it is that you can change. If you can't change anything on there, and if you have no accountability part in that, then you have to let it go. And you have to learn how to sift through those things. What is your major priority once you've done that? And what's going to impact your life in such a way that is going to change or involves you to revolve around that or evolve?
Look at you. You sounding all,
I'm so proud of you.
yeah, but that was some good stuff. So how did you get to that point to be able to give that advice? Did you have to take some type of training or just life lessons that you're sharing with others?
A lot of it's life lessons, but it mostly comes back to me as an individual. I'm not a person that reacts. I actually respond. And what I say about that is that I sit back and I reflect first, what part did I have in that? Why did that person seem to take it that way? What was it that I actually said? Because words do matter and words do hurt. That little stuff about nursery rhyme, sticks and stones break my bones and words don't hurt. Total myth. Total myth. Because we know we can cut somebody down with that lethal tongue we have. We can't take it back. We can't regurgitate it again. It's just something that you have to sit within yourself. So for me as a person, I'm that person that just sits back. I'll listen. You'll see me looking at you. You think I'm looking at you like you're crazy and two ways sideways on Sunday. I'm just not going to say anything because I'm internalizing what you're saying and I really want to actively listen to it. I'm not casting judgment. That's just how I am as an individual. Once I receive that information, I take it with me and I'll bring it back up. So I often ask, why do you have to keep bringing it up? It's not keep bringing it up. It was an unresolved issue the first time for it to even happen that time. So now I'm bringing it to the table where I have a more clear head and we can have an actual dialogue about this. Because I'm not going to argue with you. We're not going to have that banter back and forth and tit for tat. And I'm going to one up you and you're going to one up me. I'm not engaging in that. I want to have an adult conversation with you. And if it's a minor child, then I'm going to have a conversation on their level. But I'm not going to have that banter back and forth because we're going to listen and we're going to figure out what's going on. If I don't have a resolve at the end of it, then we can go our separate ways or just learn to just squash that and not visit that again.
Oh, cool. That's great advice. So how would you apply that advice to yourself as an author when you're not being as productive as you would like to be? Like maybe you're having writer's block, maybe the words are not coming to you as eloquently as you would like for them to come.
Learn how to write faster, conquer writer's block, and tell a story your readers will love. In less than 1 month, writing only 3 pages daily, you can go from book idea to manuscript using the unfair writing advantage. Most authors take 8 months on average to write just 1 book. But in a fraction of that time, you will learn how to craft a book your readers will love and not be hunched over your laptop days on end to do so. Just go to www.theunfairwritingadvantage.com to see what has the self-publishing industry buzzing. Now back to the podcast.
How would you advise yourself and other authors to get over that hump when things are just not flowing?
It's the same thing with even when I have conversations with others. Again, I sit back, I reflect. But I told you, get it out on paper. Whatever it is that's on your mind, whatever it is in your heart, just write it. You're not looking for editing or revisions at that point. You just simply want to get it out. I just want it on that piece of paper, however it looks, however it sounds, misspellings, mispronunciation, no grammar, etiquette, none of that. Just simply get it on paper first. Once you have everything out that you've flushed it out of your system or you feel like it is, that's when you go back and you read it as it is, as in its authentic piece. You want to make sure that you're just looking at it that way. Then you go back and you start picking it apart and make your revisions there. Sorry for tripping over my tongue. But you want to make your revisions there. Once you've made some of those revisions, go back and read it again. Put it down. Let it sit for a minute. Let it marinate. Sometimes you're not going to have it right. And maybe it's just a thought. You just want it out of your head. I don't need to do anything else with it. Next time I come back to that piece, it might be the very perfect time for somebody else that needs that. You've had a day or you've had a moment. It either revolves around you or the other person or people. And you go back and you just look at it and say, I'm seeing it through a different perspective, a different lens. I don't even need that piece. I want to put this piece here. Or let me move that piece because it's more impactful there. Or it makes more sense here. Or it doesn't, take it out. So it's yours. You are the author. You are the creator of that piece. That is your art, your canvas. So you can write on it however you wish. And I always tell my students the same thing. This is your work. So you are the author. Look at all these different genres that we have. Look at all these different authors. Look at how they wrote. It's nice. Some of them write from left to some of them write backwards, some write from bottom to top. We always have this standard that we're supposed to go by in English, but then we want to walk outside of that standard. Even how words are pronounced, how words are spelled. Sound it out. What sounds do you hear? It doesn't always work. Phenomenon. The word phenomenon. I hear the sound. The PH makes that sound. They're going to get confused on that. So write what it is that you wanted to say and how you want to look. And then let the other person know. Just like within Confessions from the Heart, you'll notice at the bottom of each of those poems, we put a little blurb at the end from the author's perspective of what we were intending for that poem to mean for us as we wrote it. Now, your perspective on that and your version is going to be a total different take on that. And I've done it where I've asked for the audience input. I've written a poem and I've asked them, what was your vision? What did you take away from that? What did you gather from those words that I put on that piece of paper? My poem said this title. What did you think about that? And they'll give me something totally different. I said, I didn't even look at it from that point because that's not where I was at that moment when I wrote it.
Cool, cool, cool. Question, why poetry, right? Because I know you personally, and I know that you're a very storied individual, but why did you start your self-publishing journey with poetry? And it's great poetry, by the way, people. I'm not saying this because she's near and dear. Like, she really has gift of gab. She really hits home. She really pulls at your heartstrings. But my question to you is, why poetry? And how long have that poetic bug bit you?
Poetry has always spoken to me. I didn't know what it was for the longest time. I just knew it was words that I had to get out on a piece of paper. Words have always moved me when they're eloquently put together. And there's a way that you can actually structure words, and either you're going to melt, or you're going to cry, or you're going to laugh, or you're going to be joyful with glee, or you're going to ponder that thought and be like, I hadn't thought of those words that way. And with all those different vocabularies that you have, once you put them together, sometimes it's so impactful and so powerful, you move for yourself. Because there are times I've gone back to my own book and like, oh, that's right. I'm the author. Did that thing.
That's right. That's right.
Assignment. So I have to give myself credit on some, and others, I'll look at it and say, I wonder what I was thinking then, because sometimes it can get twisted a little foggy. But it's always been something that's been in the background for me. And with my grandmother talking to me one day, and was saying, because I had turned my voice off, I was a select mute. Those that know, know. Those that don't, I was a select mute for a number of years from age 8 to 13. I just turned my voice off like Maya Angelou. I thought my words had powerful. They were powerful and very impactful. So I didn't want to say anything because children were to be seen and not heard. So I internalized that. So for me, she told me to write my things down. Once I wrote those things down, I just felt a sense of release at every single curve. Every single time I wrote something down, I just felt like, I don't have to think about that right now. I don't have to feel that way right now because it's there. I can always come back and revisit that. So with her saying that and giving my first journal, away I went. I just started writing, and it took me to places that I've never visited, things I couldn't even like I couldn't even muster some of these things up. And I'm just saying, wow, the wind beneath my wings, like literally and physically and metaphorically, I can just put all those things together and I can go places in my mind and on these pages that no one else can.
Wow, that's definitely well said indeed. Where do you see yourself at? I know that you said you're looking to take your self-publishing journey and transition into impacting people. You said that earlier. Where do you see yourself in 5 years from now with your writing and being a motivational speaker? Or do you see that going hand in hand with each other? And
Yes.
if we answer the question, how are you going to parlay two? Because the plate can become full, with so much on it.
They're going to work in conjunction because whenever you're a motivational speaker, you can also reference your books and ask people to pick up your books, or you can reference. So today I want to talk about a poem that I have. It's called Peaceful Ambiance. Last night I shared one about the doorbell rang, and I didn't want to answer that doorbell because it had shoulda, coulda, woulda standing at my door, and I didn't want to answer that. And whenever I close the door, I never have shoulda, coulda, woulda come to my door because I've already closed those doors behind me. People always ask, but do you need closure? No, because once it's over and done, so am I. So when I look at this journey that I'm on, I know that it's a never ending journey. So when I meet that road at the end with the books and with a motivational piece, it's going to work in conjunction because those are my words on the paper, but those are my words that's coming out of my mouth at those specific times that I'm going to need. When I do my motivational piece, I'm going to have a theme around that. So I'll be pulling pieces back and forth from that. But my long-term goal, like I said, is motivational speaking. But my next jump is jumping into poetry for children. And I noticed when I went to some of the libraries, they didn't have a lot of poetry for children on their levels and sequels that actually go together. So that's my next step.
Cool. And how soon are you looking to start that project?
I actually am starting that now, and I'm doing it with my daughter because she's going to be my illustrator. So it's a conjunction project with her. And I'm not even putting a time scale on it because I really want this one to reflect for children. So I have to change my lens, my perspective, and go back in my time, as well as visit the classrooms a little bit more often when it comes to April for Poetry Month, because that's where I actually have the most influence, impact in the classroom when it comes to my piece of poetry and the pieces that I feel like I can embellish on a little bit.
Writing your manuscript has been hard enough, so let NL Publishing Service Academy make self-publishing your book easy as possible. From beautifully designed full and ebook covers to uniquely done typesetting and formatting, our goal is to professionally enhance your manuscripts and book covers to give your readers the best reading experience possible. Need marketing tips, tactics, and strategies? We can help you with that. How about branding and broadening the reach of your author platform? Yep, we can help you with that too. So no matter what your self-publishing needs are, NL Publishing Service Academy has you covered. Just head over to www.nlpublishingservices.com for whatever your self-publishing needs are. And now back to the podcast.
Okay, cool. For our listeners that don't know, you are in the educational field. By you being in the educational field, how do you see kids being impacted with spoken word?
They love it because they can play with rhyme. It doesn't have to rhyme, but they can play with it. They know it only has to make sense to them. They understand that there's different types of poetry, that you have stanzas and all those things. Those are your guidelines. Yes, that's structure for the normal poetry piece of it, poetic piece. But you as the author, again, you have that power. You have that autonomy. You can have one word on a piece, on that page. You can have 2 or 3 words. You can have one-liners. You can have phrases. So they get to really play with it and actually engage in it. And some of them actually use part of it as a rap piece. So it has a lot of fun for them putting their little pieces together because they always think about the standard little pieces. Roses are red, violets are blue, sugar is sweet, and so are you. But we want to put a twist on that, change it up a little bit. But how is it for you as that author? What do you want to say? And I always get them to put 5 or 6 key things down that they want to include in that poem, whether you're talking about family, talking about pets, just talk about animals all together. And once they get that little structure piece, then they phrase everything else around that.
Okay, cool. You said that you and your daughter are basically, she's illustrating and you're doing the words to a poetry book for kids. But I'm listening to you speak, and I think, and I know you didn't ask for advice, but I give it anyway. That's what friends do. That, no jokes aside, not only you're crafting something for kids, but the way that you spoke for people that's in that lane, the poetry lane, like you can actually help them structure better. Because when you were speaking, you was like, I'm not big on writing poetry. I love a good piece. I love good spoken word. But if you actually sit down and write, it's not going to happen per se. But as you were describing what it took to put pieces together and give it a different look than what we're accustomed to, then it made me feel that I could do that. So,
Absolutely. It
right.
empowers you. It
Right.
empowers you.
So with that being said, maybe accompanying with the children's book, it can be from all ages, by the way, a short little ebook on exactly what it takes or the steps that you believe it takes to write good poetry.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm in line with you with that. I do take your advice. And you automatically know that I give you a lot of a struggle back and forth. I give you a lot of banter back and forth. But you know that I respect you as a writer, as a publisher, as my friend, helping me on this journey. Because we both know that struggle was real for that very first one coming out. At birth of that baby, I cried. And he's like, "Are you crying for real?" I said, "Absolutely." He's like, "Okay, call me back when you..." But I just couldn't help it because I know when something works for me, I know I may not always have the words for it. I may not know how I'm going to get there, but I know I have to get there. And you, for me, was that catalyst that opened the doors for me. And I'm to cry now for this. Hold it back. But when all of my book covers, they spoke to me, and I knew what I wanted them to say at the end. I didn't know I was going to write this 4th book, but I knew I had to write the 4th book to complete my vision of what I was looking for, anticipating. So my covers, as you notice, they all have silhouettes of people's faces, and it's all women. And 2 of them go one way, 2 of them go another way. My first one was my first baby, and that was the birth of me, revisiting myself, letting these things go, the soul, the entity, the whole nine, and dealing with the grounding of the foundations of life. So I encompass the earth tones in there. And when I say you hit that nail on the head, yeah, I cried like a baby for that book. And I still do. As you can tell, I get choked up every time I do it. But if you really put my books together, put all 4 together and put 2 of them facing each other and the other 2 facing each other, it's a full circle of life coming back around, evolving back around to you, showing self-reflections of you coming as a whole individual. And that's what it was for me.
Girl, you about to make me cry. You get
I'm so sorry, but yes, I tell this story every single time because it's nothing but the God honest truth. And I get choked up every time I tell it because everything had a spirit. Everything had a motivational piece behind it. Everything was explicitly done. And I told you I wanted yin and yang, but I didn't want that symbol. I told you I wanted to be a little seductive, but I didn't want to be sexy out there, popping for everybody to understand. I told you I wanted to mask some things, but I didn't want anything uncovered. I wanted a Black person on the page, but I couldn't put a white person on the page. Why? Because it wasn't me. But at the same time, I had this white woman on my second one and say, "Shh, don't tell it all, just some of it." And the way that the cover came about, when I saw that, I knew. I was like, yes, this is it. The white plays off the purity. The black in the background is the inevitable. It's the abyss. I don't know what's going on back there. That's that shh part of it. The mask. Half of your face is covered. I can only peek and see the soles of your eyes if I'm looking enough. So that's masked up. That's part of that piece that's quiet for me. And then those lips and those fingernails popping with that red. We all know red is sexy and seductive. So shh, don't tell it all. Just some of it.
I'm gonna be really honest. I didn't know I impacted you that much. So,
Oh my
but
gosh.
yeah, so right, like I didn't know, like because we've never had this we had thousands of conversations, right? But we've never had this
This
conversation
conversation.
before.
Exactly.
So thank you so much. You have to understand it's your journey, and so what happens is what's crazy to me. It sounds I just embodied. I tried my best. Let me say by putting myself in your shoes,
And
right?
you captivated every bit of it because I didn't always have the words because I was sitting in the seat. So I couldn't see what was behind me. I couldn't see what was on the sidelines of the car or of the front bumper. So I would always dump everything on you. And you was like, gosh, you're putting so much on me. I'm not sure which way to go with it. So let me take a moment to sit back. I'm going to read some of your stuff and I'm going to figure it out. And once you read some of my stuff, you came back. He was like, this is the direction I think you're to go in. This is what it should look like. And these are the thoughts that you had. This is what you said. And I'm trying to put it together. I was like, yep, okay, yeah, that's a lot. He said, yeah, you think? And so you would always come back and you would always give me 3 choices. There was always a good one. There's always another one. I was like, he's getting there. But that last one, every single time, you'd give me that third one. And that third one was the bombdiggity.com. Same thing with his last book. I told you I wanted a heart, but I didn't want a typical looking one. I told you I wanted some kind of way that I had played off her silhouette, but I still wanted to look like a soul from the first book. It's like, you got a tall order. Sure do. Because now all of my stuff comes together. It flows. It makes sense. And it's still my spirit, my soul. Every time I look at the covers of my books, I lay them down. I smile. I smile. I'm so happy. I smile.
Lord, so I'm gonna actually bring this to a close right there. Oh wow! I just gotta say, you don't understand how proud of you that I am, right? Because you took it and you ran with it. And a lot of authors, they sit back and they wait and they act. If they build it, they will come not understanding once you build it. You have to pull people in. I know you didn't ask, so here's a bit of unsolicited advice once again. Have a larger presence of you because people buy from you. They'll love your work, but we live in a curious society. That's a better word than me telling people that they're nosy. So by you opening up and sharing what you did, I feel, and I know you, but I know you even more by what you shared. So I'm not sure what social media platform that you're on or whatever case may be, but open up just like you did here. And I promise you that your tribe will increase. I am truly proud of you and thank you for allowing me to be a part of your journey.
Absolutely. Do you mind if I read one piece? It's
Of course.
because I'm not even going to read the long versions. This one says peaceful ambiance.
Of
It says,
course.
and this is from book number 4, Confessions from the Heart. It says peaceful ambiance. Nature sings its beautiful melodies, mind at ease with a clear conscience, thoughts calm and tempered, body relaxed, melting like cheese on a warm bun, not in a rush, not on the clock, not scheduled to be anywhere, but here, laid back in bliss and peaceful, at peace listening to nature's melodies. So my quest to you is to be still, peace, be still to those who value your sanity. And that's all that it's about.
Look at you. That was,
He said just enough.
yeah. And believe it or not, thank you for personally speaking to me because when I asked for that advice as you being a motivational speaker, I was honest. I'm going through some shit. I do curse on my podcast. So if you
I
let
do
one
too.
slip, it's cool. Right. So I'm going through some shit and then you talk me through it there. But when you just read that piece just to tell me to be still, because Nikki said the same thing. She's like, you doing all this, did you pray? Did you pray? And I'm like, yeah, I prayed. She was like, okay, but did you pray and stay with it? Did you pray and then release it?
And
And
where
then
you explicit, let it be there. Once you have prayed about it, once you have released it, let it do what it's going to do. Just like you tell me about my books. When I give you the assignment of what it is I'm looking for, I got to let you do what you do. Just like coming on here, what you tell me. Girl, give me 5 minutes. Let me do what I do. But on my anxious side over here, but you say it 30 minutes, and I waited 15 whole minutes. To me, that's a lifetime in my book on this side because I'm so precise and I want this, I want it that way. I need to make sure that you said this, but I wanted that. I wanted the way that I wanted to be. But mine is patient. So I have to remind myself to be patient. So 15 minutes was my patience time there. So I say that to say that you have to sit with yourself. You have to be able to love you and embrace you. If you can't sit with yourself and in the quiet, in the storm by yourself, why do you think somebody else want to?
Mm, okay.
And so I have learned that over the time too, that when it says to love yourself, I have to love to be alone by myself, do things by myself, enjoy my own company. I'm a ton of fun even by myself. I found myself to be a doggone bliss. I'm like, oh, girl, this so fabulous. Look at you.
Yep.
I have to give those reaffirmations to myself to let myself know I am on this path. I'm not alone. I'm really not. I have the ancestors that got my back. I got my daughter that's got my back. But ultimately, I have me. I know I can always count on me. If I can't count on nobody else, I can't expect nothing from nobody else. I can count on me. I'm going to show up for me all the time.
Wow.
So back and wait.
Before I let you go, let's close the show with you giving a bit of advice to all authors, right? No matter what they genre, no matter what they write. Give a bit of advice to all authors. I want you to close the show by giving a bit of advice to authors, like your 4 books in. Somebody right now that's listening to this podcast, that will be listening to this podcast, will be 1 book in, will be 2 books in, and they don't see the forest because of the trees. I want you to speak to them.
As an author, as a writer, my biggest thing is to put it on paper. Don't think about it. Whatever it is that's on your mind that you want to put on paper, simply just keep writing and writing and writing until the lead breaks, get another one. The ink runs out, get another one. Until all of those thoughts have flushed out of you. Just keep going. Like I said, don't go back and do any revisions. Get it all on paper first. Because you can always go back and make the revisions, pull it here, pull it there, those kind of things. Make sure that you are connecting yourself with the right people. And when I say right people, the people that know their job or have the passion to do what it is that you're looking for. If you're looking for an editor, you may not go to your friend down the street who talks Ebonics, who talks the street talk, who talks that laid back lingo. You want somebody who's going to be professional. If that's what you're looking for, then that's the avenue that you need to go. Also, be open to making all types of connections. I am an introvert. Doesn't look like it, doesn't sound like it. When this camera goes off, I'm back over there on that sofa like I tell everybody else, or I'm back working with my daughter or doing something for myself. So take time for yourself. Let yourself rebuild as well. And know that you are your number 1 priority. And you will get there, but you have to do the work. Nobody's going to do it for you for free or do it for you at all. You have to do it. And everybody doesn't see your vision. It's not their destiny. It's not their journey. It's yours. And you wanted to have that authentic purpose. Remember the first book that I wrote? And I had the little boats and the words were in the boats in the shape of the shoe and all that kind of stuff. And you was like, no, we're not doing that for the first book. I need you to stay focused. Your mission is to write the poems for people to understand it and get your vision out there first. The second one, we'll work on that. And that's what we did. So I got a few poems in there that got that shape. If I was talking about the shoe fits, it was the shape of a shoe. If I was talking about the homage of the heritage from the under the tree, umbrella of the tree, then I had the tree shape for my words. So it is your vision. It is your purpose. It is your line of work that you want to embellish in upon. So take that journey. Step into it. Just do it.
I couldn't said it better myself. Look, y'all could have been anywhere in the world. Y'all joined your boy today. And for that, I'm eternally grateful for you joining. Listen Up, I Got a Story to Tell podcast. I don't know where you're listening to this at. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, do me a favor and leave an honest review. I would greatly appreciate it. If you're watching me on YouTube, leave a review and subscribe to my channel. Until next week, I'm DK Walker. This has been Jannet Butler, and y'all have a good night. Peace.
This episode of Listen Up, I Got a Story to Tell podcast has ended. But please be sure to subscribe for more literary strategies and tactics to help you create the profitable, successful author career you've always wanted. And don't forget to rate and leave a review so we can continue to bring you the best author and book-related content. See you on the next episode.